The jolt is violent, like a defibrillator to the soul. I gasp, sucking in air that smells wrong. Not wrong as in bad, but wrong as in past. Textbooks and old coffee, and the faint, cloying scent of the cheap lavender air freshener my first year roommate insisted on using. My heart hammers against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. I know this room. I know this sterile smell, the specific way the fluorescent light hums above the chipped Formica desk. Dorm room. 3 years ago, 3 years before. My fingers fly to my chest, smooth skin, no scar. But I remember the pain, the crushing weight, the way my own heart betrayed me, giving out under the relentless pressure. Finals week, the library, the cold, unforgiving gleam of those same fluorescent lights as the world faded to black. Dr. Chen's face, a fleeting image before the end. His dismissive smirk, the curl of his lip as he'd called my escalating panic attacks, theatrical. Theatrical. As if the invisible vice squeezing my lungs, the icy terror that had become my constant companion, was some performance I'd conjured for his amusement. I died. I know I died. Alone on that sticky, worn linoleum floor, surrounded by the hushed whispers of terrified undergrads. But I'm here. My eyes dart around the room, cataloging details I'd forgotten I knew. The faded band poster on the wall, a relic of a younger, more hopeful Maya. The stack of organic chemistry notes, their pages still crisp, untouched by the desperate highlighting and tear stains of the weeks to come. This isn't a dream. This is a do-over, and this time, I remember everything. The thought is a shock wave, clearing the fog of disorientation. My death. His fault. Dr. Andrew Chen, esteemed cardiologist, revered professor, the man who held my future in his perfectly manicured hands and crushed it with casual disdain. The man whose subtle torments, whose gaslighting and public humiliations had chipped away at my sanity until my body simply couldn't take it anymore. A cold fury, sharper and more focused than any anxiety I'd ever known, settles in my chest. He called me theatrical. He'll see theatrical. Morning rounds. The air in the teaching hospital is thick with the scent of antiseptic and ambition. I stand in the small cluster of pre-med students, clipboard clutched in my hand, my new, old heart beating a steady, determined rhythm. It's surreal listening to the attending physician drone on about patient cases I've already lived through, already aced, already forgotten. Then he walks in. Dr. Chen, tall, impeccably dressed, that familiar air of smug superiority radiating from him like a toxic aura. His eyes, pale and calculating, scan our group, and for a horrifying second, I think he knows. That he can see the impossible knowledge reflected in my gaze, but then his eyes land on me, and the recognition is of a different, more mundane sort. The weak one. The problematic one. "Ah, Miss Reyes," he says, his voice smooth as silk, yet laced with a condescension that makes my skin crawl. He's addressing the group, but his words are aimed at me, a sniper's bullet. "Good to see you keeping up." He pauses, a cruel smile playing on his lips. "We were just discussing the importance of resilience in the medical field, the ability to perform under pressure. Some, of course, are more constitutionally suited to the demands than others." The other students shift uncomfortably, avoiding my gaze. They remember, last semester, my first panic attack during his lecture. My stammering request for accommodations for my diagnosed anxiety, a request he'd publicly dissected and dismissed. "Perhaps," he continues, his voice louder now, ensuring everyone hears, "Miss Reyes has some insights. Or perhaps she might consider a less demanding career path if the pressure proves too intense." He mimics my voice, a high-pitched mocking imitation of my plea for understanding. "I just need a little extra time, doctor. I'm just feeling a bit overwhelmed." My fingers tighten around the clipboard, the plastic groaning in protest. The humiliation, so fresh in my past life, burns just as hot now. The memory of his words then, echoing his words now. "Medicine is not for the faint of heart, Miss Reyes. Perhaps a nice, quiet desk job?" I'd crumbled then, fled the lecture hall in tears, his laughter echoing behind me. This time I meet his gaze. My expression is carefully neutral, but inside, the ice is spreading. He wants a show? Oh, he'll get one. But it won't be the one he's expecting. Later, in the break room, I hear his voice before I see him. He's holding court with a group of residents, his tone boastful, arrogant. "You have to be firm with these new recruits," he's saying, and I freeze, a half-eaten apple in my hand. It's a weeding out process. Some of them just don't have the stomach for it. Too sensitive, too emotional. He chuckles, a dry, unpleasant sound. Had one last year, completely lost it. Kept insisting she had a crippling anxiety. Cried in my office, pathetic. I told her straight, "You can't cut it." Broke her, I think. Haven't seen her around. Broke her. The same words. The exact same phrasing he'd used to describe me to a colleague. A conversation I'd accidentally overheard just days before I died. He was talking about me. He was bragging about destroying me. The apple turns to ash in my mouth. He doesn't just dismiss pain, he revels in inflicting it. He sees compassion as weakness and vulnerability as an invitation for attack. But this time, his words don't shatter me. They solidify something within me, a core of resolve as hard and unyielding as diamond. He's not just an arrogant bully, he's a danger. And I'm not the only one he's hurt. My mind races. The malpractice settlements I'd vaguely heard rumors about in my past life. Whispers of falsified research data. Things I hadn't paid much attention to, lost in the fog of my own suffering. Now they click into place, forming a damning mosaic. He's not just cruel, he's corrupt. And he's careless. He thinks he's untouchable. That night, back in the too familiar dorm room, I pull out a dusty box from under the bed. My old journal, the one from this timeline. My fingers tremble as I open it, the pages filled with a sloping, desperate script that is mine, yet not mine. October 12th, Dr. Chen made me feel so stupid today. Called me out in front of everyone, again. My chest hurts just thinking about it. Maybe he's right. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Am I going crazy? November 3rd, another panic attack. Couldn't breathe. He just stared at me like I was something he'd scraped off his shoe. Said I was being too emotional for medicine. Is he right? Am I too broken? The entries are a painful litany of self-doubt, fear, and a desperate, heartbreaking desire for validation from the very man who is systematically dismantling her. Me. The Maya who didn't know. The Maya who died. My eyes burn, but the tears don't fall, not this time. With a slow, deliberate movement, I tear out those pages, one by one. The flimsy paper rips with a satisfying finality. They are her story, the story of the victim. I take a fresh notebook, a sleek black one I'd bought for a class I now know I'll ace. My pen hovers over the first pristine page. Then, I begin to write a different story, not a story of fear, but of facts. Dates, names, evidence, locations I now recall with chilling clarity. The name of the journalist who had started digging into Chen's background before being stonewalled. The specific research paper where he'd falsified data. The colleague he'd threatened into silence. It's all there, locked in the vault of my resurrected memory. A knock on the door makes me jump. My roommate, Sarah, pokes her head in. "You okay, Maya? You've been quiet." I offer her a small, reassuring smile. "Just planning my semester. Going to be a busy one." She nods, oblivious. "Tell me about it. Chen's research project. Did you hear? He's picking assistants tomorrow." My smile widens, but it doesn't reach my eyes. "Oh, I heard. I remember. He'll pick me. He'll see it as another opportunity to torment his favorite theatrical student. He'll task me with tedious data entry, then steal my insights, my work, and pass them off as his own, all while subtly gaslighting me into believing I'm incompetent. It was one of the final straws in my previous life." "Yeah, I heard," I say, my voice even. "I'm hoping to get on it." Sarah raises an eyebrow. "You sure? He's brutal." "I can handle it," I say, the words tasting like a vow. This time, Dr. Chen won't be presenting my stolen work. This time, I'll be the one orchestrating the presentation. And it won't be a research paper. It'll be his suspension letter, at grand rounds, in front of everyone. He thinks he's starting a game he controls. He has no idea I'm already 3 steps ahead, playing by rules he can't even begin to comprehend. The board is set, the pieces are in motion, and Maya Reyes, the girl he broke, the girl he killed, is about to make her first move. The lecture hall buzzes with the low hum of pre-class chatter, but I'm a calm island in the sea of nervous energy. Dr. Chen strides in, his expensive shoes clicking on the linoleum, a smug set to his jaw. He launches into his lecture on cardiovascular pharmacology, his voice dripping with authority. I appear to be taking copious notes, my head bowed, pen scratching across the page. What he doesn't see is the small, almost invisible lens of my phone camera peeking out from the strategically placed gap in my binder. Recording. My past life knowledge is a superpower now. I know his lecture beats, his favorite anecdotes, and more importantly, the precise moments he'll veer off topic to deliver one of his signature sexist diatribes. Like clockwork, as he discusses beta blockers and their effects on heart rate, he pauses, a thoughtful expression on his face that I now recognize as a prelude to some Neanderthal pronouncement. Of course, he muses, ostensibly to the class, but with a pointed glance in my direction. One must always consider the emotional state of the patient. Women, for instance, tend to present with more variable heart rates, naturally more emotional, you see, less logical in their responses to stress. A few male students chuckle. Some of the women shift uncomfortably, but no one challenges him. They wouldn't dare. My pen continues to move, a steady, even rhythm, but the camera is capturing it all. His words, his dismissive hand gesture, the way his eyes linger on the female students with a predatory assessment. Click. Another piece of evidence for the collection. He has no idea he's starring in his own downfall, one soundbite at a time. The skills assessment a week later is a masterclass in Chen's particular brand of sadism. We're in the simulation lab tasked with diagnosing and treating a mock patient. I drew the cardiology case naturally. I'd aced this exact scenario in my previous life, even under his withering gaze. I'm prepared, I'm calm. I begin my presentation outlining the patient's symptoms, my diagnostic reasoning. Smooth, confident. Then Chen interjects. Ah, Miss Reyes, a slight change. Let's say the patient also presents with acute renal failure and is on anticoagulants. Proceed. My mind spins. This isn't the scenario. He's changed it, deliberately. These new parameters drastically alter the treatment protocol, making my initial perfectly valid plan obsolete and even dangerous. It's a classic Chen move: shift the goalposts, then feign disappointment when the student falters. I recalibrate, my brain whirring through revised differential diagnoses and treatment algorithms. I manage to salvage the presentation, but it's not as polished as it would have been. There are slight hesitations, moments where I have to pause and rethink. Exactly what he wanted. When I finish, he lets the silence hang for a moment before delivering his verdict. Well, Miss Reyes, he says, his voice heavy with mock sorrow. That was rather underwhelming. One might even say incompetent. It seems your grasp of basic pathophysiology is tenuous at best. Perhaps more study and less distraction is in order? His eyes flick to the other students, a silent instruction to witness my failure. In my past life, this would have sent me spiraling. Tears, self-recrimination, days of replaying his words in my head. This time, I meet his gaze, my expression unreadable. Thank you for the feedback, Dr. Chen. I'll be sure to focus on those areas. Eerily calm. It unnerves him, I can tell. He expects hysterics, or at least a flustered apology. He doesn't get either. What he also doesn't know is that Dr. Sarah Martinez, a junior faculty member I remember him frequently targeting with belittling comments, is scheduled to file her formal harassment complaint against him with HR next month. His pattern of targeting female students, of which my current humiliation is just one more data point, is about to become a very public problem for him. His little sabotage here will just be another piece of corroborating evidence for her. My evenings are no longer spent crying into my textbooks. They're spent in the hospital's records department. I volunteered for extra shifts, citing a desire to better understand the administrative side of medicine. The board clerk, happy to offload some of his tedious filing, barely looked up from his phone. The access is a goldmine. Under the guise of organizing patient charts and research archives, I'm a silent hunter. My phone, equipped with a high-resolution scanner app, is my weapon. Dr. Chen's research files, patient records from his clinical trials, the ones I remember whispers about, the ones that never saw the light of day, and there it is, just as I recalled. Fudged trial data, entire cohorts of patients with unfavorable outcomes simply erased. Unreported complications, serious adverse events in his studies that were never disclosed in his published papers. Forged patient consent forms, signatures that look suspiciously similar, dates altered, risks downplayed. 3 years early, I have the proof. Clear, undeniable digital copies of his fraud. Each photo I take is a nail in his coffin. The hum of the ancient photocopier in the corner is a soundtrack to his impending doom. The medical school's annual networking event, a forced schmooze fest where students are expected to impress faculty and potential donors. Dr. Chen is in his element, gliding through the crowded ballroom, a glass of champagne in hand, charming the old guard with his practiced wit. I watch him from across the room, a predator observing its prey. He spots me, and his smile tightens for a fraction of a second before he turns back to the dean, undoubtedly making some snide remark about my presence. He's making his usual digs. I can hear snippets as he passes. Emotional students who crack under pressure need to be more rigorous in our selection. Standard Chen, but I'm not focused on his tired insults. My target is Dr. Elizabeth Warren, a prominent figure on the state medical board. I remember reading about her in my past life, a staunch advocate for patient safety and ethical research. She's here tonight, a keynote speaker. I accidentally bump into her near the hors d'oeuvres table. "Oh, Dr. Warren, I'm so sorry," I gush, feigning a slight stumble. "I'm Maya Reyes, a second-year student. I so admired your talk on research integrity." She smiles, a genuine warm expression that's a stark contrast to Chen's reptilian charm. "Thank you, Maya. It's a subject I'm very passionate about." "Me too," I say, injecting just the right amount of academic enthusiasm into my voice. I have a particular academic interest in research integrity and the current patient safety protocols, especially in investigator-led trials. I'm hoping to pursue research in that area. Her eyes light up. That's wonderful. We need more young researchers focused on ethics. Feel free to reach out to my office if you ever want to discuss it further. She hands me her card. Jackpot. "I'd like that very much, doctor," I say, my voice sincere. She has no idea how much I'll be reaching out, or what I'll be bringing to her attention. Back in my dorm, the lights are off. My roommate is asleep. Her soft snores a rhythmic counterpoint to the frantic clicking of my keyboard. I'm not studying. I'm building an arsenal, a new, secure digital folder on my encrypted hard drive. I title it Hippocratic Oath _violations _Chen _A. One by one, I upload the scanned documents, the audio files, the video snippets, cross-referenced, dated, annotated with my resurrected memories. I set up encrypted email accounts, secure cloud backups, a dead man's switch programmed to release the files to Dr. Warren and a select list of investigative journalists if I don't log in for 72 hours. Sarah rolls over in her sleep and mutters something about neuroanatomy. She'd call me paranoid if she knew. But paranoia is just good sense when you've already lived through the worst-case scenario. Paranoia is preparation, and I am preparing for war. Dr. Chen may have fired the first shot in a previous life, but in this one, I'm launching a preemptive strike he'll never see coming. The email arrives on a Monday morning, just as I'm finishing my coffee. "Research assistantship offer, Dr. Chen's lab." My lips curve into a smile that's all teeth. Right on schedule. He thinks he's so clever, assigning me to his new project on anxiety disorders in medical students. He probably imagines it's some twisted form of poetic justice, or just another chance to poke at my perceived weaknesses. When I report to his lab, he doesn't disappoint. "Ah, Miss Reyes," he says, leaning back in his leather chair, a self-satisfied smirk playing on his lips. Given your personal experience with the subject matter, I thought you'd be an ideal candidate for data collection on this project. His eyes glint with malice. We're particularly interested in exploring the phenomenon of malingering. Students exaggerating their symptoms for, shall we say, secondary gain, and he's practically telegraphing his intentions. This isn't research, it's a hit job. He wants to publish a paper discrediting students like me, painting us as fakers and attention seekers. In my past life, I'd have been crushed by the insinuation, by the sheer cruelty of it. I'd have stumbled through the work, terrified of confirming his biased hypothesis. This time, I just nod, my expression carefully neutral. I understand, Dr. Chen. I'm happy to contribute to such important work. He tasks me with conducting interviews and collecting survey data. The very work he'll later accuse me of fabricating when his fraudulent conclusions are challenged. The irony is delicious. I play the part of the struggling, insecure student perfectly. I ask Dr. Chen for guidance at every turn, feigning confusion over the data collection protocols, fluttering my eyelashes with just the right amount of academic helplessness. Dr. Chen, I'm a little unsure about this questionnaire item. Could you clarify what kind of response you're looking for? Or, this data seems a bit contradictory. Am I analyzing it correctly, doctor? Each interaction is a carefully orchestrated performance, and each time, he takes the bait. He sighs with theatrical impatience, explains things in a condescendingly simple manner, and, crucially, steers me towards the results he wants. Miss Reyes, it's quite straightforward. We're looking for patterns that indicate symptom exaggeration. Focus on those. If a student reports debilitating anxiety but also maintains a high GPA and a vibrant social life, well, you draw the obvious conclusion. Or, exclude any outliers that don't fit the general trend. We're looking for a clear, publishable narrative here. My phone, set to voice record in my pocket, captures every word. My laptop, supposedly for data entry, is also running a discrete screen recording software during our guidance sessions. Every instruction to manipulate data, every suggestion to exclude inconvenient results, every dismissive comment about genuine student suffering, all meticulously documented. He's handing me the noose, and I'm just letting him measure the rope. The pressure mounts when he starts pushing for falsified patient interviews. We're in his office, the afternoon sun slanting through the blinds, casting his face in shadow. Miss Reyes, he says, his voice low and conspiratorial. Some of these initial interviews are unhelpful. The students are too guarded, too rehearsed in their victimhood. I need you to dig deeper, find the inconsistencies. If necessary, guide their responses to reveal the underlying performative aspects of their anxiety. He's asking me to commit research fraud, plain and simple, to twist the words of vulnerable students to fit his predetermined cynical narrative. In my past life, a demand like this from him would have terrified me. I might have even considered it, desperate for his approval, for an end to the torment. This, Maya looks at him, a flicker of feigned reluctance in her eyes. You mean, you want me to suggest things to them? To put words in their mouths? He waves a dismissive hand. Don't be so dramatic, Miss Reyes. It's about shaping the narrative, standard practice and qualitative research to achieve clarity. He smiles, a cold, predatory gleam. I'm sure you're resourceful enough to get the results we need. Your future in this field could very much depend on it. A veiled threat. Classic Chen. I understand, doctor, I murmur, looking down at my hands. I'll do my best. He leans back, satisfied. Excellent. I knew you had potential. I do go out and conduct the interviews, but I don't falsify them. I record genuine, heartfelt conversations with students struggling under the immense pressure of medical school. Their voices raw with anxiety, fear, and the desperate need for support. Their stories are hauntingly familiar, echoing my own past pain. These recordings directly contradict Chen's hypothesis, painting a picture of a systemic problem, not individual malingering. Then I create a separate set of interviews, fabricated, scripted to align perfectly with Chen's cynical theories, full of exaggerated claims, inconsistencies, and admissions of attention-seeking behavior. I use a voice modulation software for these, creating fictional student personas. Alongside all of this, I maintain a detailed log, dates, times, Specific instructions from Chen regarding data manipulation. October 26th, Dr. Chen instructed to rephrase survey question 7 to elicit responses indicating students use anxiety as an excuse for poor performance. See audio file Chen _rec 1026 A. November 2nd, Dr. Chen requested I creatively edit interview transcripts from subjects 003 and 005 to highlight drug-seeking behaviors. See email Chen _REQ 1102 B. When it's time to submit my preliminary findings, I hand him a carefully curated report. It includes the fabricated interviews, the manipulated survey data, all presented with a veneer of diligent, if slightly clumsy research. He skims through it, a smug smile spreading across his face. "Much better, Miss Reyes," he says, nodding approvingly. "This is precisely the kind of robust data we need. Your work ethic has certainly improved. There might be a co-authorship in this for you if you continue on this trajectory." He's so focused on the data that fits his narrative that he doesn't bother to check the appendix. If he had, he would have found a folder innocuously labeled supplementary audio files _interview _consent _verification. And within that folder, not just the consent forms, but also the time-stamped recordings of every single conversation where he explicitly instructed me to fabricate data, to manipulate results, to commit research fraud. He also doesn't notice the digital watermark on the report itself, a tiny, almost invisible pixel string that will prove this version, the one he's praising, originated from his own computer after I emailed it to him for review. He signs off on the report summary, his signature a confident black scrawl across the bottom of the page. A page that now serves as his endorsement of fraudulent research. 3 weeks later, I'm in the student lounge, ostensibly studying for a pharmacology exam. My phone is on the table, screen up. I'm waiting. I know the Research Integrity Office moves slowly, but an anonymous, detailed tip, complete with supporting documentation, which I'd submitted via an untraceable encrypted email 2 weeks ago, of course, tends to expedite things. Then I see him, Dr. Chen, walking down the hallway, looking irritated. He's rubbing his temples. He ducks into his office. A few minutes pass. Then his door flies open with a crash. He stumbles out, his face ashen, a single sheet of paper clutched in his trembling hand. He looks utterly bewildered, his usual composure shattered. He spots me, and for a moment his eyes narrow with a dawning, confused suspicion. But he can't connect the dots. How could he? The timid, anxious Miss Reyes orchestrating his downfall? Impossible. He hurries towards the dean's office, nearly tripping over his own feet. I allow myself a small, satisfied smile as I turn back to my textbook. The email. It had to be the email. The one from the Research Integrity Office. The one informing him that a formal investigation has been launched into his current research project on anxiety disorders in medical students. An investigation triggered by an anonymous tip. A tip that provided them with irrefutable, comprehensive evidence of his misconduct. Evidence that includes audio recordings of his instructions. Documents detailing data falsification, all neatly packaged, and all bearing his implicit approval, thanks to that signed preliminary report. He thought he was breaking me. He had no idea he was just giving me the tools to bury him. The first taste of retribution is sweet indeed, and this, I know, is just the appetizer. The air in the department crackles with a new nervous energy. Dr. Chen, once the picture of arrogant self-assurance, now looks like a cornered animal. He's jumpy, his eyes darting around, suspicion etched into every line on his face. He starts questioning students, subtly at first, then with increasing desperation. "Have you heard any rumors? Anyone seem disgruntled lately?" He's trying to sniff out the whistleblower, the source of his sudden, inexplicable torment. I, of course, maintain an expression of wide-eyed innocence. When he asks me if I've noticed anything unusual, I feign concern. "Is everything all right, Dr. Chen? You seem stressed." I even offer to keep an ear out for him, to help him figure out who might be trying to cause trouble. He actually seems to consider it for a moment. His paranoia is so acute, he's grasping at straws, even straws he himself has tried to break. While I'm playing the concerned protege to his face, I'm a viper in the shadows. My contact at the state medical board, Dr. Warren's assistant, is now a trusted recipient of my encrypted updates. more information flows. Details of Chen's attempts to subtly intimidate potential witnesses. His veiled threats to junior faculty members who know too much. Each piece of information strengthens the case against him, widening the cracks in his carefully constructed facade. The department meeting is a tinderbox. Chen knows the investigation is closing in. He can feel the net tightening. He tries a preemptive strike, a desperate attempt to discredit me before I can, he assumes, directly implicate him. During a discussion on research ethics, the irony is almost painful. He clears his throat and fixes me with a pointed stare. "We must also be mindful," he says, his voice resonating with false gravitas, "of the reliability of research partners, particularly those who may have pre-existing mental health challenges. Such individuals, however well-intentioned, might misinterpret data, or worse, make unfounded accusations if they feel pressured." The implication is clear. He's painting me as unstable, unreliable. A woman scorned, perhaps lashing out. It's a desperate, clumsy move. What he doesn't know is that Dr. Sarah Martinez, the junior faculty member whose harassment complaint is now formally lodged and actively being investigated, is in the room. And I had, just the day before, shared with her several audio clips of Chen making similarly discriminatory comments about emotional women and students with mental health issues. Dr. Martinez stands up, her voice clear and steady. "Dr. Chen, are you suggesting that students or faculty who have sought help for mental health conditions are inherently unreliable? Because that sounds dangerously close to discrimination. And, frankly, it aligns with a pattern of concerning behavior I've personally experienced and reported." The room goes silent. Chen's face flushes a dull, angry red. He tries to backtrack to bluster his way out of it, but the damage is done. Dr. Martinez's public confrontation, fueled by my evidence, has just added another layer to his rapidly unraveling career. He's not just a fraud, he's a documented bigot. My surveillance of Chen becomes almost a second job. I know his routines, his habits. I know he's panicking, and panicked men do stupid things. One night, acting on a hunch born from my past life memories of his underhanded tactics, I stake out the alley behind the medical building. It's 2 a.m. The air is cold and damp. And then, I see him. Dr. Chen, looking furtive and haggard, emerging from the back door of the lab carrying 2 large boxes. He glances around nervously before dumping them into one of the large commercial dumpsters. My phone camera, equipped with night vision, captures it all. The boxes clearly labeled with the names of his past research projects. The ones I know contain incriminating data. He's destroying evidence. Obstruction of justice. Another charge to add to the growing list. I even managed to get a clear shot of some of the documents before they disappear into the maw of the dumpster. My digital folder, Hippocratic Oath _violations _Chen _A, grows heavier by the day. The inevitable confrontation comes during an official interview with the Research Integrity Office investigators. Chen, trying to salvage his rapidly sinking ship, throws me under the bus. He claims I was a rogue research assistant, that I acted independently, falsifying data out of some misguided attempt to impress him, or perhaps due to my known emotional instability. He paints himself as a victim, a trusting mentor betrayed by an unethical underling. It's a compelling performance. He's smooth, persuasive, his voice filled with sorrowful regret. For a moment, I almost feel a flicker of the old fear, the old self-doubt. Then I remember the hours I've spent, the evidence I've meticulously gathered. I calmly, methodically present my side. The audio recordings of his instructions, the emails, the signed preliminary report, and then the trump card. The falsified documents, I state, my voice even, were created on Dr. Chen's personal office computer. The metadata confirms this. Furthermore, the access logs for the research lab show that during the specific time periods when the key data manipulations occurred, only Dr. Chen accessed the secure data server. I have copies of those logs, and security footage from the hallway camera corroborates this. The investigators exchange a look. Chen's face, which had been a mask of concerned innocence, begins to crumble. He splutters, tries to interrupt, but they silence him with a raised hand. They've heard enough, His attempt to frame me has not only failed, it has backfired spectacularly, making him look even more guilty, more desperate. The investigation, initially focused on the single anxiety disorder project, balloons. My evidence, meticulously cross referenced, reveals connections to his previous research. The data I photographed from the records department, the documents he attempted to destroy, they paint a picture of a career built on lies. Discrepancies in his publications from 5, even 10 years ago. Grants obtained through fraudulent applications, promising results he knew he couldn't deliver. And then, the whispers I'd heard in my past life, now given terrifying substance. Patient deaths. Adverse outcomes in clinical trials that were systematically covered up, buried in unpublished data, their existence denied. What started as a simple case of research misconduct, an academic slap on the wrist, morphs into something far more serious. The Research Integrity Office contacts the State Medical Board. The Medical Board, armed with Dr. Warren's now very active interest in my comprehensive files, starts looking at his clinical practice, his prescribing habits, and then they contact the authorities. It makes the local news. Prominent cardiologist under investigation for research fraud, patient endangerment. His photo, a smarmy, confident shot from a hospital gala, is plastered across the screen. His carefully constructed world is not just unraveling, it's imploding. And I, Maya Reyes, the theatrical, emotionally unstable student, am the one holding the detonator. He thought this was a game he could win, a loop of torment he could perpetuate. He never realized I was playing a different game entirely, a game with much higher stakes, and I was playing for keeps. The air in Dr. Chen's office is thick with unspoken accusations. He summoned me, his voice tight with a forced calm that didn't fool me for a second. He thinks this is a private conversation, a chance to intimidate or manipulate me one last time. He paces, his expensive shoes silent on the plush carpet. "Miss Reyes?" he begins, trying for his old authoritative tone, but it cracks around the edges. "This investigation, it's a misunderstanding. A terrible, unfortunate misunderstanding." He attempts a reassuring smile, but it looks more like a grimace. "I'm sure we can clear this up. You just need to tell them you were confused, overzealous perhaps." I just watch him, my expression unreadable. He's still trying to play me. Still thinks I'm the naive, easily manipulated girl from before. "You know, Maya," he says, switching to my first name, a tactic he's never used, a desperate attempt at faux intimacy. "I've always seen potential in you, real potential, despite your sensitivities." I let the silence stretch, enjoying the way his composure frays with each passing second. Then I speak, my voice quiet but carrying the weight of 2 lifetimes. "You remember that study you did on the efficacy of ARBs in post-MI patients, Dr. Chen? The one published in the New England Journal of Medicine back in 2018? The one where you failed to disclose that 3 patients in the experimental group died from acute liver failure, directly attributable to the drug you were championing?" He stops pacing, his head snaps up, his eyes wide with a confusion that quickly morphs into dawning horror. That study was 5 years before my original timeline even began. There's no way I should know those details. The specifics of the deaths, the journal, the year, that information was buried deep, known only to a select few. How could you possibly know that?" he whispers, his voice hoarse. "Or what about Dr. Alastair Finch?" I continue, relentless. "Your mentor at Johns Hopkins? The one whose groundbreaking research on cardiac amyloidosis you systematically plagiarized after he suffered a stroke? You thought no one would ever look at his original lab notes, didn't you? The ones dated February 14th, 2012, the day before his incapacitation?" Chen stumbles back, collapsing into his chair. His face is pale, his eyes filled with a new, terrifying understanding. This isn't just a student who got lucky, who stumbled upon some incriminating files. This is something else, something impossible. "Who are you?" he breathes, the question a ragged exhalation. "I'm the ghost of every patient you endangered, Dr. Chen," I say, my voice cold as ice. "Every colleague whose career you destroyed, every student you tormented. I'm the culmination of all your sins, come back to collect." I pause, letting the words sink in. And I'm not alone. I reach into my bag and pull out a small, unassuming flash drive. This investigation, Dr. Chen, the one you think is about a single research project, it's much bigger than that. When my anonymous tips started to unravel your more recent misconduct, it caught the attention of others. People you wronged a long time ago. People who have been waiting for an opportunity like this. I tell him about Dr. Lisa Park, a brilliant cardiologist whose career he'd systematically dismantled 5 years before my original timeline. He'd stolen her research, smeared her reputation, driven her out of academic medicine. I remembered her name from hushed, angry conversations between other faculty in my past life. After my initial evidence against Chen surfaced, Dr. Park had reached out, anonymously at first, then, as the case grew, more directly. She and a small network of Chen's other victims had been quietly gathering their own evidence for years, waiting for the right moment. My resurrection, my impossible knowledge, was that moment. Dr. Park is now a key witness for the prosecution, her testimony, backed by her own meticulously kept records, irrefutable. Chen looks like he's about to be sick, but I'm not finished. This flash drive, I say, holding it up, it doesn't just contain evidence of your research fraud. Oh no, it has so much more. My voice drops, a predatory purr. Remember all those missing diazepam vials from the hospital pharmacy, Dr. Chen? The ones that kept disappearing around finals week? The ones you were diverting? Selling to desperate, sleep-deprived medical students who would pay anything for an edge? Or just a few hours of oblivion? His eyes widen in genuine terror. This is a secret he thought was buried forever, a secret I only know because in my previous life, a fellow student, racked with guilt, had confessed to me that Chen was his supplier. The same student who had seen me collapse in the library. The same stimulants, the ones Chen had been illegally distributing, had been a contributing factor to the cardiac event that killed me. I remembered the jittery anxiety, the palpitations, the feeling of my heart racing out of control even before the final fatal episode. I'd dismissed it as just my anxiety then. Now, I know better. I have names, Dr. Chen, I continue, my voice a silken threat. Dates, text messages, transaction records. Enough to add drug trafficking and endangerment to your already impressive list of charges. I calmly explain the next steps as if outlining a treatment protocol. All of this evidence, the research fraud, the patient endangerment, the drug diversion, has already been provided to the federal investigators. The DEA is particularly interested in that last part. The state medical board has a copy. And a very tenacious investigative journalist from the Boston Globe is currently writing a rather comprehensive expose on your career. It's scheduled to run next week. He opens his mouth, but no sound comes out. He looks broken, a hollow shell of the arrogant man who had smirked at my pain. And then, I add, the final surgical incision, there's the wrongful death lawsuit. His head jerks up. Oh, don't worry, it's not my name. That would be, complicated. It's filed on behalf of my sister. A fictional sister, of course, but one whose tragic death under eerily similar circumstances to my own previous experience will be very compelling to a jury, especially when presented with the evidence of your negligence and your little side business with prescription stimulants. The lawsuit names you personally, Dr. Chen. It bypasses the hospital's malpractice insurance. Your assets? They'll be tied up for years. Your reputation? Irreparably destroyed. He's shaking now, his face a mask of disbelief and despair. He finally understands. He's not just losing his job, he's losing everything. And then, the final twist of the knife, delivered with a serene, almost beatific smile. One more thing, Dr. Chen. You know how you always said I wasn't cut out for medicine? That I was too emotional, too weak? I pause. I've just been accepted to Harvard Medical School, full scholarship. He stares at me, uncomprehending. It's a new scholarship, I explain, my voice dripping with false sweetness. Funded by a private foundation. A foundation dedicated to supporting medical students who have faced discrimination and adversity. A foundation secretly established by Dr. Lisa Park. Its primary mission, aside from helping victims like me, is to ensure that predators like you are permanently removed from the academic and medical community. Your name, Dr. Chen, is already infamous in those circles. They're calling it the Chen Protocol, a case study in how not to be a physician. He looks at me, the brilliant, esteemed Dr. Chen, and for the first time, I see him for what he truly is: a petty tyrant, a fraud, a hollow man whose power was built on the fear and suffering of others. And I, Maya Reyes, the girl he tried to break, the girl he inadvertently resurrected, have just dismantled his entire world, piece by painstaking piece. The unveiling is complete. His reign is over. The breakdown is as pathetic as it is predictable. Once the full scope of his ruin sinks in, Dr. Chen crumbles. The arrogant facade shatters, revealing the sniveling coward beneath. He's in his office, or what will soon no longer be his office. He thinks this is a private conversation, a last-ditch appeal. He doesn't know my phone is recording every word nestled discreetly in my blazer pocket. "Maya, please," he begs, his voice choked with unshed tears. He actually uses my first name again as if we're old friends. "You have to help me. You have to make this go away." He gestures vaguely, his hands trembling. "Withdraw your statements. Tell them it was a mistake. A misunderstanding. I'll do anything." He leans forward, his eyes gleaming with a desperate, calculating light. "I can still help you, you know. I have connections. Harvard is good, yes, but I can get you into any residency program you want. Any fellowship. Neurosurgery, cardiothoracic. Just say the word. We can put this all behind us." He's trying to bargain, to bribe his way out of the abyss. The sheer audacity of it, even now, is breathtaking. I let him talk, let him dig his own grave a little deeper. "Then," I reply, my voice calm, devoid of the emotion he so desperately wants to see, to manipulate. "Dr. Chen, there's nothing to make go away. Your career was over the moment you decided that your ambition was more important than your patients' lives, more important than your students' well-being, more important than the oath you swore to uphold." I pause. It's already over. The legal proceedings are just formalities. He stares at me, his face contorting in frustration. He's not used to being powerless. He tries a different tactic: gaslighting, his old favorite. "You're not well, Maya," he says, his voice taking on a tone of feigned concern, the one he used to use in front of colleagues when I was struggling. "You're having another one of your episodes. This is all a fantasy, a delusion. No one will believe a mentally unstable student making such wild accusations against a respected physician." He almost sounds convincing, his actor's training kicking in. I almost smile. He has no idea how perfectly he's just walked into my final trap. "Unstable, Dr. Chen?" I ask, tilting my head. "Delusional? Making wild accusations?" I reach into my pocket and retrieve my phone. I tap the screen, and his own voice fills the room. "Miss Reyes, it's quite straightforward. We're looking for patterns that indicate symptom exaggeration. Focus on those. Guide their responses to reveal the underlying performative aspects of their anxiety. Your future in this field could very much depend on it." The recordings are crystal clear, his instructions to commit research fraud, his threats, his discriminatory remarks. His face drains of all color. He looks like he's seen a ghost. My ghost, perhaps. "As for no one believing me," I continue, my voice as smooth as silk, "well, that's where you're mistaken." I gesture vaguely towards the adjoining conference room, where the door is slightly ajar. "Dr. Martinez, Dean Holloway, Dr. Ramirez from the Ethics Committee, and I believe a representative from Hospital Legal are all quite interested in this, a private conversation." They've been listening for the past 10 minutes. Hidden microphone, rather theatrical, don't you think? His eyes dart towards the conference room door, wide with horror. He's been performing for an entirely different audience than he realized. Checkmate. The final act of this particular drama unfolds not in his office, but in the grand auditorium where grand rounds are held. It's a place of learning, of sharing knowledge, of upholding the highest standards of the medical profession. It's also the place where, in my previous life, I'd fantasized about confronting him, about exposing him. Now that fantasy is a reality, but it's colder, more clinical, more satisfyingly complete than any dream of vengeance. I don't need to shout. I don't need to rage. I simply stand at the podium, the same one where he has delivered countless lectures, pontificated on his own brilliance. But today, the presentation is mine. I'm not presenting research. I'm presenting his downfall, his suspension letter from the state medical board. I hold it up, the crisp paper a stark white against the dark wood of the lectern. I read the charges aloud, my voice clear and steady, resonating through the silent, packed auditorium. Research misconduct, multiple counts. Falsification of data, plagiarism. Patient endangerment due to unethical trial practices. Willful negligence, discrimination against students and faculty based on gender and mental health status. Unlawful diversion and distribution of controlled substances. Each charge is a hammer blow, echoing in the stunned silence. He's there, in the front row, as per hospital policy for such proceedings, flanked by his lawyer and a stoic hospital administrator. He looks small, shrunken, his face a mask of disbelief. He tries to speak, to object, but his lawyer silences him with a hand on his arm. There's nothing left to say. He makes one last desperate plea as I step down from the podium, his voice hoarse, cracking. My family, my reputation, my life's work. Please, Maya. I stop. I look at him. Not with hatred, not even with pity, just with a profound, weary finality. You destroyed my life once, Dr. Chen, I say, my voice quiet for his ears only. You killed me with your negligence, your cruelty, your ambition. You don't get to do it again, not to me, not to anyone else. I pause, the words hanging heavy in the air between us. The answer is no. It will always be no. Then I turn and walk away. As I reach the back of the auditorium, I hear the shuffling of feet, the low murmur of voices. 2 uniformed security guards are escorting Dr. Chen from the room. His medical license suspended. Criminal charges pending. Civil litigation that will strip him of everything. He will never practice medicine again. He will never harm another student, another patient. The file I'm carrying, the one titled Hippocratic Oath _violations _Chen _A, is now officially part of the public record. My promise to myself, made in the lonely despair of a past life, is fulfilled. Justice, cold and clean and absolute, has been served. 6 months. It feels like a lifetime, yet also like the blink of an eye. The sterile smell of this lab is different. It's the scent of possibility, of genuine discovery. I'm at Harvard Medical School in a state-of-the-art research facility. My pristine white coat feels earned, not like a costume I'm desperately trying to fit into. I'm researching evidence-based treatments for anxiety disorders in medical students. My work, my passion, now funded by grants that specifically cite the need to prevent the kind of systemic abuse and discrimination I not only experienced but meticulously documented. The irony isn't lost on me. Chen's downfall has, in a twisted way, paved the path for healing, for change. My phone buzzes on the lab bench. A text from Dr. Martinez. She's kept in touch, a mentor and now a friend. Thought you'd want to know. Chen sentenced today, 3 years, state penitentiary. Research fraud, drug diversion, medical license permanently revoked, civil settlement terms also finalized. Substantial portion going to fund mental health resources for med students nationwide. You did good, Maya, more than good. I read the message, a slow smile spreading across my face. 3 years. It's not a lifetime, but it's enough. Enough to ensure he's out of the system, his power to harm extinguished. The money, his ill-gotten gains, now repurposed to help those he would have preyed upon. It's a fitting end, a just end. My first presentation as a graduate researcher is next week. I'm speaking to a room full of medical educators, deans, program directors from across the country. My topic, creating supportive and ethical learning environments, addressing mental health stigma, and faculty misconduct in medical education. I run through my slides, the data points, the recommendations. The weight of my past life, the trauma that once threatened to consume me, has been transformed. It's no longer a burden, but a source of strength, of purpose. I survived, and now I can help others survive too. As I'm packing up, my phone buzzes again. A new message, this one from an encrypted app I'd set up. a discreet helpline for students facing issues similar to what I endured. It's a first-year student from a medical school in California. Dr. Reyes, I got your contact from a friend. There's this professor. He's making comments. I don't know what to do. I pause, a sense of calm settling over me. I type back, my fingers flying across the screen. I understand, you're not alone. Here are some resources and some steps you can take. Let's talk. My survival wasn't just for me. It was to build this, a network, a shield. A promise that no student should have to face that kind of darkness alone. Chen's legacy of cruelty is being overwritten. One connection, one act of support at a time. Later, I walk across Harvard's historic campus. The late afternoon sun casts long shadows, painting the old brick buildings in hues of gold and crimson. It's a world away from the sterile corridors and fluorescent lights of my past. My future feels bright, secure, stretching out before me full of promise. I pass a newspaper stand, the headlines stark against the fading light. Medical education reforms gain momentum following Chen scandal. New whistleblower protections urged for medical students. My story, my fight, has had ripples I couldn't have imagined. It's not just about one corrupt doctor anymore. It's about changing the system. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, a profound sense of peace settles in my soul. The ghosts of the past are finally quiet. The wounds have scarred over, no longer aching with phantom pains, but serving as reminders of battles fought and won. I am Maya Reyes, survivor, researcher, advocate, and I am finally, completely at peace. The rebirth was a gift, the repeated wound, a crucible, and what emerged from the fire is stronger, more resilient, more determined than I ever thought possible. The new dawn is here, and it is beautiful.